Now, despite his dismal poll numbers and falling popularity, President Trump wants you to think that everything is going just peachy keen. In fact, he recently gave a news conference that was essentially less news and more of him trying to reframe the narrative around a White House that is essentially exploding. Okay, so this is according to an article in Politico. Friends say President Trump has grown frustrated that his greatness is not widely understood, that his critics are fierce and on TV every morning, that his poll numbers are both low and fake, okay, and that his White House is caricatured as adrift. So let's kind of break that down, right? His greatness is not widely understood. If only we knew of the greatness of Mr. Trump, then we wouldn't be spreading fake news about his obviously bad poll numbers, where nearly 60% of the country disapproves of the terrible job that he's doing. Sad. Moving on. With both the Roosevelt Room and the Rose Garden as backdrops, he mixed facts and mirage, praise, and perfidy in two head-spinning, sometimes contradictory performances designed to convince supporters and detractors alike that everything's terrific, moving ahead of schedule and even better, and getting even better. His opponents were cast as misguided, deluded, or even unpatriotic. Now, look, this is something that this is Trump 101. Okay, look, he's got to make everything about himself, and he has to be right 100% of the time. It's never his fault when something goes wrong. He can't be wrong. He cannot take personal responsibility for messing anything up, for going out there and undercutting his own people and sabotaging his chances of actually getting tax reform done. Yes, there is discussion out there where his infighting with the GOP, which is why he had to drag Mitch McConnell out to this, is that he could be ruining his chances for tax reform. This is a slam dunk, okay? Cutting taxes for the rich. Congress loves to cut taxes for the rich. Goddamn slam dunk. He still probably might not get it done. I mean, there's a question on this. Now, Trump told cabinet members and reporters that there's plenty wrong with America, but it is the fault of Democrats, insurance companies. Well, I actually agree with that. NFL players, Republicans in Congress, Hillary Clinton, former presidents, and Mexicans. To be fair, drug dealing Mexicans, apparently. That's what he said. Trump said he also understood why former White House strategist Steve Bannon wanted to torch Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell and other Republicans for not getting health care or any other legislation through. Now, it is true that not all that is Trump's fault, obviously. But again, he didn't exactly help. I mean, look at the health care plan, right? They pushed it. It was incredibly unpopular and would have cost the GOP seats. Trump didn't know what was in it. So he made all these promises like, no, it's going to be cheaper. It's going to be better. Everybody's going to be covered. It'll be great. And we can actually get rid of the failing Obamacare, actually put something in that works. Number one, Obamacare was not failing, at least until you pulled the subsidies. And it's okay. So again, he doesn't know how insurance works. The Republicans don't know how insurance works, and he didn't know how any of this stuff worked. He thought by pulling the subsidies, he would actually make it cheaper and better. But pulling the subsidies actually made it more expensive for poor people to be able to afford insurance. That's who that primarily impacted. And then the other executive order, where he allowed the insurance companies to do these skinny plans for up to a year that didn't actually cover anything. Again, that forces, or doesn't really force, but it actually gets younger people out of the market into buying these skinny plans for much, much cheaper. That has the effect of making it so that people who are older, sicker, who have pre-existing conditions end up having to pay more. They can't afford it, and the market goes into a death spiral. So he's doing that while saying, no, don't worry, this will make healthcare better. Better for who? I guess people who are younger, healthier people, but not for majority of people who would be impacted by the ACA that actually need insurance. But anyway, for that reason, it was incredibly unpopular. But yet he continued to push it, and the Republicans pushed themselves off a cliff. But anyway, so that's just some of the stuff that he's tried to do. that wasn't popular, that didn't go very well. But for him, he's like, no, slam dunk. I think I'm doing an awesome job. Everything I do is fantastic. Not only that, he talked about how the Wall Street Journal loves his incredibly corporate judges. He even bragged in the Rose Garden that James Lee Witt, who's a Federal Emergency Management Agency administrator under President Bill Clinton, gave his performance on the hurricanes an A+. That includes Puerto Rico. Who could give Puerto Rico right now, still, most of the island still does not have power or clean drinking water. And they've had to put out a statement, hey, don't drink from the Superfund sites because they have containers of water there because that water is poisoned or irradiated. That could kill you. Don't drink from that water. But there are so many desperate people there that still don't have access to clean water that are, again, desperate. Do anything to be able to get actual water. But no, A+. And he says of Witt, quote, I've always had a lot of respect for him. Now, what's funny is that knowing Trump, he doesn't know a damn thing. So he's like, oh, he's saying, oh, I've always had a lot of respect for him, but he actually never even knew that guy. Several Trump aides said that they'd never heard of Witt before Monday's remarks. They continue. He heaped lavish praise on his own performance and ideas, like, for example, the tax cut for the rich, saying that this will be the largest tax cut in history. Yeah, that's true. It will be the tax cut for the rich. That's not a good thing. In fact, that's incredibly unpopular. Like, you look at any of the polls, you're going to find that people don't want tax cuts for the rich. For the middle class, yes. The problem is, I guess they can't agree on who's actually middle class. They're thinking that the people, the couple making $300,000 a year, oh no, that's the middle class. That's who we want to serve. That's not middle class. Median wage in America is about $50,000 a year. And you have so many families out there that don't make it to that. They make it to about $30,000 a year. That's the middle class. $300,000, $400,000 a year, that is not middle class. But again, most of their tax cuts go to people who make even more than that. The lion's share go to the top 10%. So, not only that, but he said healthcare would be terrific, as I said that before. But here's the thing, right? He thinks he's doing a fantastic job, but he doesn't understand why people are criticizing him. And they're criticizing him because he doesn't know what he's doing. Now, that leads him to, apparently, according to Politico, privately fume over the criticism that, in the case of healthcare, that he was taking healthcare away from poor people, and tells aides that he regrets agreeing to move a healthcare agenda first before infrastructure or anything else. He also asserted that his administration is making historic progress on opioids. No, he's not. To give him credit, there was a guy that he was considering to put in as drug czar, right? That drug czar was just recently implicated in a report in 60 Minutes for helping exacerbate the opioid crisis. That's an amazing report. We'll probably report on that tomorrow. But Trump heard of that. He's like, oh, okay, well, we're going to take him out of consideration then. I'm not going to appoint this guy because he actually made it worse. So, hey, credit to him on that one. But nonetheless, he hasn't really done anything to help with the opioid crisis. I mean, you know what would actually help? At least in my opinion, legalizing marijuana and using that to help get people off opioids. Now, I've seen some research on that, so I'm not just talking on my ass here, but I've seen research that it helps people get away from the opiates while still being able to deal with chronic pain. So that might be something to look into. Obviously, they're not going to because there's Jeff Sessions, and Jeff Sessions thinks only bad people smoke pot. So there's that. Now, when he was asked about criticism, that he's only trying to unravel President Obama's record, he said, well, there's been a lot of praise. Wait, so they asked you if you're just trying to undo President Obama's record. Because I've said that before, and I've noticed that a lot of the stuff that he's tried to undo, or that he's actually undone, is stuff that President Obama had previously done in the administration. Now, I understand that, hey, he's a Republican president, right? So he's going to undo some of the stuff from the previous administration, but even popular stuff he's trying to undermine and undo. And I think a lot of it does have to do with, I didn't like Obama. Whether or not it's racism, I think that is. But you can decide for yourself whether you think that's the case. But certainly, you can't make the case that he's not trying to undo President Obama's legacy. I mean, even pulling from the Paris Agreement and the Iran deal. Most of the countries that are in the Iran deal are like, no, don't decertify the deal. Don't decertify the deal. They're actually following the deal. This is good. This keeps them away from nuclear weapons. Trump's like, nope. I'm just going to hand it to Congress and I'm going to decertify the deal. That's a step away from actually ripping it up. And then, of course, with the Paris Accord, which is actually incredibly modest reform on trying to, lower carbon emissions to head off the worst impacts of climate change. He was like, no, I can't do it. You know why? Obama. And possibly China, because climate change is a Chinese hoax. But everything he's doing is essentially trying to mess with Obama's legacy, going after the ACA so hard and eliminating the subsidies and all that. Look, again, it's obvious, but don't worry. There's a lot of praise as well. A lot of people agreed with what I did. He said of the decision to decertify the Iran nuclear deal. Now, his move, while winning praise from Republicans in Israel, has confused some of his own aides and brought derision from much of the world. So basically, look, you get it, right? This entire conference was him basically filleting himself over the stuff that he's done and blaming everyone else for anything else that went wrong. Now, I've never seen a president do anything like this before, and this was an impromptu press conference. He actually canceled Sarah Huckabee Sanders' press briefing for this. The depths of his narcissism are unmatched. But I think it also shows how internally frustrated he is, because nobody puts on a conference like this when everything's going fantastic. So he felt the need to no, I have to go out there and I have to set everybody straight and I have to let everybody know how awesome I am, because I don't feel like I'm getting that respect. It's a weird attempt at deflection. And sadly, for about a third of the country, I think this is going to be cheered as a home run. For the rest of us, this is an indictment of a system that could allow a narcissist like this to assume power. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.